So now we're ready to start. So we've selected her colour. So Cool Blonde was just a little bit too light for her, and the mid to dark was just a little bit too dark. So we've stuck to the neutral mid brown. So I'm going in with blush, and then we'll see towards the end if I want to add a little bit more depth and contrast, and I'll most probably use the bold just to highlight the contrast, especially around the tail, and we want to most probably add a little bit more midway from the arch. The bold is really good if you're sort of lacking in contrast, but you don't want to oversaturate. That's where using just one shade down from what you are using now will really help to make that pop and add just a little bit more like definition to the brow. At the same time, you do want to keep it nice and natural and soft for her, just because she's got very sparse brows and I don't want to be overpacking it in. Next, I'll be using the Momentum machine. This is really good because it's very top heavy, so it really allows the weight to carry on the top. And what that means is that you can just allow your hand just to sort of sit there, okay? You want your grip to be really nice, and you don't want it too tight. You just want to be able to allow the machine to have its own movement, and you're just going with the flow, okay? So when it's top heavy and it's lighter at the bottom, it allows you to have, you know, a little bit more control. So when you're holding the machine ready for outlining, you want to make sure, for best stability, you want to hold it as low as you can, like this, okay? And you want your index finger just to rest just below the entrance point of the needle cartridge, okay? So that just sits and hooks just under there. Also with the grip, you just want to grip your thumb, but not too tight. If you grip it too tight, you'll be just too stiff, okay? So just grip it ever so slightly. So you can hold it like a little bit like a pen, as you can see, and it's just going to be like a rocking motion, or like a little whips or etches towards like yourself. So if you can see here, I just want to move and have that movement. So with outlining, you've got two ways. You can either do backwards and forwards, keeping the needle in the skin constantly and counting to 2. So up and down, 1, 2, and then you're going to extend and then do it again, 1, 2. So it's like you're going up, down, and then you're going to go towards yourself. Or you can just do one way. So I like to go towards me, and I like to count to 3. So a tiny little very restricted little movements, just one way, like a little tiny whip. But you want to keep it really flat into the skin, and then it's just going to be 1, 2, 3, extend, 1, 2, 3, extend. Now as I'm ready to start, I want to make sure that my stretch is as tight it can possibly be, otherwise you're not going to get a very nice sharp outline in there. And I'm going to be using the Quadrant Optima Plus needle, 0.25 long taper. I really like this needle, especially for shading. It creates beautiful pixels, and I just find using the Optima Plus, it gives you a lot more stability because of the extra like the extra casing that you've put in the center of the needle to make sure it doesn't really move. Okay, and then you want the needle to come out roughly around, I like to have mine out a little bit long, so about 2 millimeters. Any longer than that, the ink's not going to flow very well. So, and if it's too short, the ink is just going to spill everywhere. Now, when I start, I like to start at the tails, and I like to get into position. So I like to start at the corner of the bed. I'm going to start on the right brow, so I'm sitting on the right side. And then I'm going to make sure that the angle is in line with my shoulder. I don't want it going, slightly, it might go slightly, to the right, ever so slightly, but you don't want to be outlining like this. And then anything really between 70 to 90 degrees is fine. The speed that I'll be working on is 7.5 or 7. It really depends. I work between those speeds. I mean, depending on like the skin type, if they're quite sensitive, you don't want to be too high. So I think for her, I'm going to start at 7, which is sort of like a medium to higher speed, yeah? So more on the higher side, just because I want the machine to work quite fast to implant, you know, a good amount of pigment in. Okay. Next, I need to make sure that my pressure is going to be super light. I don't want to be pressing at all. I just want to get literally like a very light etching of the outline. So soon, what I'm going to do, I'm going to hover on the top first and just do like a little tiny etch towards myself, so I'm getting the momentum going. I'm going to allow the machine to mainly have its weight on the top, so it allows me just to sort of glide with that technique. And the reason why you want to start here is because if the pressure is too light or too heavy, you can change it at this point. So I'm going to start on the bottom line, and then I'm going to work, and then I'm going to do the top line. Okay. So nice stretch like that, okay? So I'm stretching with my thumb and my second, or you can do your thumb and your third. And then I'm getting a really good stretch like that, and then I'm just slightly pulling down a little bit, okay? One, two, three, extend, 1, 2, 3, extend, 1, 2, 3, extend, keeping it really nice and short and tight, extend, like that. Again, we're going to do the same for the top, and then I'm going to check the pressure. 1, 2, 3, extend. And when I'm extending, I'm sort of crossing back by 50%, so there's sort of nice seamless line. Okay, at this point I'm just going to check now. If I feel like it's too deep, then we can change it. If it's too deep, it'll look too dark. If it's too light, there'll be nothing in. You want to feel a little bit of vibration. I felt a little bit of vibration, but everyone is different around this area, so some people's skin is a lot more thicker. Did that feel okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah? Painful?
No.
Okay, so that's taken really nicely in the skin. Perfect. Okay. So certain areas that you want to adjust the pressure a little bit. So when you're coming around this area, this part of the skin is a lot thicker. So sometimes you might just need to, it's okay to go over it twice. What may happen, I don't want you to second guess it, but sometimes what may happen is you'll go over doing the same pressure here and then nothing will come out. So that can happen. So just be cautious when you're wiping your lines away, just make sure it's in. And as we move more closer to the brow, this last quarter, we definitely want to be even lighter, because that's where we're going to have the majority of the softness of the ombre. You can get away with a little bit more of a darker line where we're going to be saturating more, but it's going to be a lot more softer as we work our way towards the fronts. So we can now make a shorter stretch. And if you look at the movement, as I'm moving, the movement is, it's quite a fast movement, but it's tight, and I'm moving literally in little millimeters. I'm not moving in good 3 millimeters. I'm moving in millimeters. So if you look again, 1, 2, 3, extend, 1, 2, 3, extend. So you see the action's fast, but very tight. If it's too slow, you'll end up implanting too much ink. But if you're too fast and you move too fast, like if the segments are just too big, you won't get anything and it'll just be red because you're just working like too fast. As you can see here, we can go over this area. You just want to keep your pressure constantly at the same. You want to keep it as fluid as you can. You don't want to start changing your pressure. It needs to be always the same, otherwise you'll get dark light everywhere you go. Just work in really small little sections if you have to. Doesn't matter how long it takes. As you can see, it's coming out really nicely. You do feel like a little bit of a vibration when you hit skin, but nothing, you know, too much. As you can see, I'm just going to get shorter, making shorter stretches as I go. And I'm just moving that index finger. That's all that's controlling my outline. And to be honest with you, at any point, if we need to change the outline a little bit or we need to hit somewhere, that's not a problem because we're still going to blend. Just going back over with what I've done. See, she had like a little dip that happened around here. So it's fine. What I'm doing, I'm just going over these areas and just smoothing it out. I'm just gonna just connect that a little bit better. Just gonna bring that up just a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, these lines are looking lovely. So if you do wipe and you see like a little bit of a dip, so if you saw here where the lines were connected, she had a little bit of a dip. Sometimes that just happens like if you're hitting a little bit on the inside or outside, or if the mapping string's a little bit thicker. So what you can do is just go back over and just slightly smooth out anything that you can now blend in anyway. I'm just going in really lightly. Now I'm going to go even more lighter. Just adjust your pressure ever so slightly at the front. Sometimes I just go like 1, 2 instead of like counting to 3. If it's too light, I can go back over it anyway, but I want it to be really soft. Okay. Okay, so that's the outline now done. So as you can see, nice and smooth. A lot more lighter at the front there. We don't need anything too harsh there. As you can see, I've had to straighten this up a little bit, just a little bit sensitive, which is quite normal for her type of skin type. She is a fits too. And then we're gonna start to shade. So there we go. If you need to go over anything, you can do any adjustments now, but again, we're going to go back over and smooth anything that needs smoothing out or straightening up anyway in round 2. So for now, we're going to go on to shade.